Hey, it's Ray Steele. Hope you like this, and please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate it. Not too often we have breaking news on the Insiders here on WRTV, but that is the case today, and we're going to talk about it right off the top with Abdul Hakim Shabazz from indypolitics.org and our two political insiders, Republican Jim Merritt, Democrat Brian Gaddie. Gentlemen, welcome. Let's get to the breaking news. We kind of knew this was coming, but it's official as of now. Abdul is reporting first in his cheat sheet newsletter, and there will be much more to come, I'm sure, that there are two allegations of sexual misconduct so far against the Republican nominee for Secretary of State, Diego Morales. Abdul, I'll let you take it from there because you spoke to both of the accusers and published your entire interviews with them in your newsletter.
Yes, I heard about this story back in May, that there were some issues with Mr. Morales and his background, almost sort of Me Too, more than Curtis Hill, but not quite Harvey Weinstein. And so I spent the last several months trying to track down who these women were, and I've managed to speak to two of them in the past week or so. And what they said in the cheat sheet was very, very disturbing. They both work with Diego Morales in various government roles. He asked them out. They thought they were friends. They're both these women were in their early 20s at the time. He tried to kiss them, grope them, grab them, and the whole nine yards. It's a very disturbing portrait of a gentleman who's already had issues already. Like I said, whether it was getting fired from the Secretary of State's office, the $43,000 car, the question about his military record. It is not good for my Republican friends. And basically, I think what this boils down to is this what happens when Republican delegates are mad at the governor over things the governor technically has no control over. And so they pick Diego Morales, who's got all these questions in his background. And now this is just the latest shoe to drop.
People can subscribe to the cheat sheet, and of course, they'll see more, I'm sure, at indypolitics.org a little bit down the road. But why were you able to ascertain that the women waited so long? Because these allegations are more than a decade old. Let's stipulate that. Why did they tell you they waited so long to come forward?
In part because number one, when you deal with the victims of sexual assault and sexual sort of sexual nature, they don't want to talk about it. They're in shock, they're in trauma, they have sort of post-traumatic stress disorder, and a lot of that. But when Diego became the nominee for Secretary of State, they started to sort of think about it and reconsider. Now, we make it clear we did not use the women's names because they were worried about the effect on their families and children. But that, in a nutshell, that's what it was, and that's what it is. And we asked them, why wait so long? Did you call the police? Like, no, they just wanted to just sort of put it behind them. But when Diego became the Republican nominee for Secretary of State, a couple of them felt they had to say something.
Now, Jim Merritt and Brian Gaddie are hearing these allegations for the first time as we talk about them. And of course, all we know is what is in Abdul's cheat sheet right now and what will be at indypolitics.org. But yes, damning allegations. Jim, they are more than a decade old. But regardless of what one thinks about this, a lot of what is being said about Mr. Morales seems to be coming from other Republicans. Now, and I know Republican Party leadership is blaming it on, as Kyle Hupfer, the chairman, said, Democrats and their allies in the media a while back. But whether it's what Abdul has published today, whether it was some of the allegations that James Briggs from the Indianapolis Star brought up in the past, they seem to be coming from members of your party, other Republicans who, one reason or another, are not happy that Mr. Morales is the nominee.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me this morning. These are serious allegations, and I thank you to Abdul for bringing them to the surface because nothing should be swept under the rug in any situation. And I think it's up to the Morales campaign to respond to this. Obviously, this is breaking news and it's hard to react to. But the Diego Morales nomination of the state convention was quite a situation where many people have come into the party that Diego has brought into the party almost in the last 2 years. And there might be, it sounds like there are people outside the tent, if you will, throwing rocks inside at Diego. And we know this from all the allegations, all of the situations that we talk on political insiders in the last month or so. And it gives you cause for concern. What is next? And so I take this very seriously as a Republican. I take this very seriously as a Hoosier and a citizen. And I'm looking forward to the Morales campaign and Diego in particular, specifically, to react to it. And it doesn't help the campaign whatsoever.
Brian, I'll get your reaction in a second, but let me ask Abdul, did you reach out to the Morales campaign and get a reaction from them?
Not yet. Like I said, what I wrote in the cheat sheet was this story, it will be updated and is developing. So I'm going to give them time to formulate a response, and they'll probably be posted soon on anypolitics.org.
Okay.
Good.
Brian, this is the latest in a series of things that Mr. Morales has been involved in. And I know the Democratic nominee, Destiny Wells, has been out there talking about, her record, certainly, and yes, talking about Mr. Morales. But she has not been talking about the military issue that we brought up previously on Insiders, whether or not Mr. Morales completed his military service that he claims to have completed, whether or not he is, quote unquote, a veteran, as most of us know a veteran. But what do Democrats do with information like this? Or do you do anything yet? Do you wait and see how this plays out and just keep campaigning and pushing your person and why you think they are qualified for this position?
I just think we just keep pushing our candidate, Destiny Wells, and we just wait and see how it plays out. It's really, obviously, it's very troubling with the Me Too movement that's played such a major role in our American society in recent years. And to hear that you have a candidate that's running for Secretary of State that has these serious allegations is just troubling to follow up my good friend Jim said. It's troubling as a Democrat, as a Hoosier, as an American. So he was saying as a Republican, I find it troubling as a Hoosier, as a Democrat, as an American. It's just really unfortunate that you have too many men that get in positions of power and abuse that power to mistreat women and not treat women with the respect and dignity that they deserve. So we just have to see how it plays out, but it's extremely troubling. And if it's proven, which I have no doubt that Abdul, very good friend of mine, an intrepid reporter, he's one of the best political reporters in the state. And if he's come up with this, I would say it's pretty much a slam dunk that it's true. If it's true, it's disqualifying and he should withdraw from the race.
Well, it might be a little late for that. We're just a little over a month out from Election Day. And again, much more to come on this developing story about Diego Morales and the allegations made against him. Let's move to a race here in Marion County that is certainly getting the most attention, I would think, of any local race, and that is the race for Marion County Prosecutor. Here in the next couple of weeks, about a week and a half, in fact, on October 11th, we here at WRTV are hosting a televised debate between the Democratic prosecutor, Ryan Mears, and his Republican opponent, Cindy Carrasco. They've had one campaign forum together already, Brian. This will be the televised debate thus far, the only televised debate in this race. And Brian, Cindy Carrasco, the Republican campaign, they have been going after Mr. Mears based simply on the crime numbers and the violent crime. And it seems like every time we have a big story involving crime, whether it's a shooting, whether it's whatever, it seems to come back to Mr. Mears. The allegation has been that too many, in Republicans' words, violent criminals have been released too early on other charges, and they're going back and committing more crimes. There's also the issue of Indiana's red flag law and whether Mr. Mears has been strict enough in enforcing that and perhaps preventing some of the shootings that we've seen here in Indianapolis and Marion County. How do you think Ryan Mears is handling this so far? What are his prospects for election since he was elected initially in a party caucus?
Prosecutor Mears is going to be reelected, no doubt about it. Marion County is a blue county. Indianapolis is a Democratic city, a dominant city, Democratic city for us, and it's no doubt about it politically. And this is just something Republicans do. Like, anytime there's crime, oh, they try to paint us Democrats as soft on crime. I mean, they've been doing that since Richard Nixon, probably even before Nixon. That's just part of their playbook. I mean, come on. I mean, anybody that understands anything about American politics knows that's what the Republicans do. They love to paint us Democrats as soft on crime. Well, the fact is, crime is up, not just here in Marion County, Indianapolis, but all over the country. And it's not just a problem that's just here in Indianapolis. So this dog won't hunt, as they say down south. Prosecutor Ryan Mears will be reelected, and he's doing a great job.
Well, homicides are actually down this year, although they stipulate they are still historically high.
And they are down. Absolutely.
They are down. So, but again, I guess it's debatable as to how much effect on homicides and certain crimes that the prosecutor has versus a whole lot of other factors. That's probably the point that Ryan Mears has tried to make. But Jim, the ads that Cindy Carrasco has been running, the message that she has been sending is very firmly focused on crime, and it's particularly interesting that she's making an issue of the red flag law, because there was a lot of attention about the red flag law when the FedEx mass shooting happened not all that long ago.
Cindy Carrasco has done an outstanding job of focusing in on crime, and the Mears, being prosecutor, and his office failing to fight it. And she has a great focus. She's been very effective this last summer and this fall. She was outstanding in that forum that you mentioned, and she'll do a great job when this debate is going to be on 6 coming up soon. I think that Cindy just needs to continue to focus on Mr. Mears, as well as the turnstile that is in the prosecutor's office, where people are accused of a violent crime, and the system is just not working for the folks that are victims, as well as the community at large. We do have a crime problem in Indianapolis, in all major cities around the country, and in Indianapolis and Marion County, Cindy's doing an outstanding job to offer a focus, provide a focus. And we're going to be voting very, very soon. So she needs to continue the pressure, continue to be on every street corner talking with people about violent crime, and as well as petty theft. There are so many things that a prosecutor can do. You mentioned the red flag law, of which I had a little bit to do at the State House. That is something people are very, very concerned about. And Democrat, Republican, Independent, people are scared at times to take a jog in the morning. And this is something that people have to go to the polls and voice their opinion and vote.
But with respect, I know you had something to do with that red flag law, Jim, but at the same time, more and more Republicans are against red flag laws nationwide, even though, Indiana was kind of an early adopter of a red flag law, but that seems to be increasingly, as far as Republicans are concerned, they don't like the red flag laws. I guess they're making the argument that they are enforced against Republicans too much, or potentially, I'm not sure what the argument is, but they kind of tie it with the entire gun control issue. So it seems like Cindy is trying to say, well, he didn't enforce the red flag law, but red flag laws are increasingly a harder sell among people in your party.
Right. This Republican is in solid support of red flag laws. They have to be effective.
You're out of step with your party, Jim.
What?
You're out of step with your party.
Well, sometimes that happens. I do that a lot, and I'm an independent voice, and that they just have to be enforced effectively. And if something needs to change with the law so that it's clear, the legislature should do it. I think we've amended it at least twice to make it more effective, and so I believe that red flag laws, if they're developed and they're installed correctly, they can keep us safe.
Well, I agree. That's something Jim and I agree on. So we're making breaking news. Jim Merritt and Brian Gaddie agree on something.
Abdul, I know that you've got some polling coming out here soon on a lot of races. I know we mentioned Secretary of State's race already. You have some polling coming out soon in the prosecutor's race as well.
Yes. The last time we polled earlier this summer, Mears was about 46, 47%. We don't really expect those numbers to change all that much. Now, with respect to crime being up everywhere, that's true. But it's like when I was in grammar school, I told my father, like, "So why'd you fail the test?" Well, Dad, everybody failed the test. Like, I don't care about everybody. I care about you. And so that was sort of, the argument that crime's up everywhere. Yes, but no. Also, number two, please keep this in mind with our homicide murder rates. Last year we had 3 mass shootings. You take out the mass shootings, and then of course our murder rate is going to go down. But obviously, if you, like I said, we take out those mass shootings, the numbers are basically about the same as where they were. If you're Cindy Carrasco right now, what you need to do is you got the Republican base, you got the Republican support. Go to those crime-ridden neighborhoods, particularly African American neighborhoods on the east side and their west side, and talk to those people, because they're the ones who are impacted by shootings, by crime, and by violence every day. Talk about crime, talk about violence, also talk about prevention as well. That's what I would do if I were Cindy Carrasco.
Well, see, even at that, Abdul, just going there, what does that mean by her showing up? What is she going to be able to do?
Hey, in politics, my friend, showing up is half the battle.
I agree.
Morales, who hasn't showed up at a debate lately.
Well, just being
you got to
there,
show up. You got to talk to people.
Well, just her showing up is not going to just be enough, because Prosecutor Mears is doing a great job with battling crime, and crime in many respects is down from what it was last year. So again, like I said earlier, this is just part of the playbook of the Republicans. They like to paint us Democrats as soft on crime, which is one of the biggest canards, which is a nice word for lie in American politics. We Democrats fight crime just as hard as the Republicans. So in the end, Prosecutor Mears will be reelected, and he will win this race, no doubt about it.
Now, I didn't say Prosecutor Mears wasn't going to be reelected, because I think the odds are in his favor. But Cindy Carrasco does have a path to victory. It's a narrow path, but it's still a path.
Oh, it's narrow, very narrow.
Yeah, a man named Greg.
By the way, people said the same thing about Greg Ballard and Bart Peterson back in 2007. So
I was about to say that
lightning doesn't always strike in the same place.
There's only got to hit you one time.
October 11th is when we will have our debate between Prosecutor Ryan Mears and Cindy Carrasco here on WRTV. Jim Merritt said a minute ago that he breaks with his party sometimes, and here is another area where possibly he would break with his party. Our friend Mr. Merritt published a column in the Indiana Capital Chronicle this week. The headline, "Restoring the GOP's Legacy of the Environment." Jim, you're essentially calling on Republicans to get back to what Republicans have historically done, and that's protecting the environment. Usually, when you hear protecting the environment, or when a lot of Republicans hear protect the environment or do something to battle climate change, you name it, the reflexive Republican action is, no, we can't do that because fill in the blank. It'll cost too much money. It's socialism. I mean, you name the argument.
The petroleum companies own their party.
But Mr. Merritt, he makes the opposite argument in this column that you can read at the Capital Chronicle. Why'd you write that, Jim?
Well, I feel very strongly. I chaired the Utility Committee in the Senate for a long time. And back in 2005, I thought renewables would never come along as a viable power source. And through the last 17 years, the technologies improved incredibly and changed. Nuclear power has become safe. It's become green, and it's all about terminology. It's all about messaging. And I want the Republican Party to change. I want us to remember Teddy Roosevelt about conservation and being conservative, and Richard Nixon was right there with the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act, and Bill Ruckelshaus, a born Hoosier, was the first director of the EPA, and so we have a rich history in the Republican Party of talking about and saving the environment, and we need to get back to that. And you see Mitch Daniels at Purdue really leading the charge on nuclear power and small modular reactors and how this can grow our economy. I wanted to make a statement that we can do better in the Republican Party about talking about messaging about the environment. I believe my friend Abdul will say this doesn't poll well, but it doesn't poll well because we don't talk about it well. The Mitch Daniels administration did an incredible amount of great things at IDEM and Goose Lake Pond and so many different places about the environment. And I'm going to be talking about that in future columns. I believe this is a winning issue that people that are 25 to 40 are very worried about our future. And the Republican Party should take this as an opportunity to talk about the new ways to power our society and even further clean our air and clean our water. Clean energy. It's Clean Energy Month in October, and I think we should do a lot more with honoring our surroundings and our environment.
Well, Brian, there's something else that you and Jim may agree on, but at the same time, it while it does concern young people, and polling shows that it concerns young people, and anybody can take this question, it doesn't seem to be a driver of people to the polls come election time. It doesn't seem like it's something that is top of mind with candidates come election time. I mean, yet we'll hear about it during the presidential race, but at the local level, at the state level, it's just something that's not talked about.
Well, it's like the hemp issue or cannabis. You have to drive it. You have to talk about it. The Republicans have to make it an issue, and I'm trying to focus on issues that I think the Republican Party has to talk about and to widen the tent, to widen the approach to voters and inform them. And I think once our voters and other voters, independents and friendly Democrats, once you inform them that this is important to us, I think it will poll better. I truly do.
Well, Brian, I'll let you get a word in because it seems like, at least lately, we've had a Republican governor, Eric Holcomb, who is making strides toward that. We hear about the building of electric vehicle battery factories. Those are coming to Indiana. And finally, after so much resistance from the car industry, from the auto industry in this state, it seems like there's some actual progress being made toward building up electric vehicle infrastructure in Indiana, where it's actually possible for people to not only own an electric car or a hybrid, but to actually put that to use across Indiana.
Absolutely. And just hearing my good friend Jim talk this morning is just further evidence that Indiana is not a hardcore conservative ruby red state. This is a red state, but I say it's like a very light red shade of a red state, which goes to show you that even the Republicans in Indiana know that they cannot be seen as hardcore anti-environment conservatives, or they risk losing statewide elections. So I really appreciate Jim's comments this morning about the environment. It's unfortunate that he has to go back to Teddy Roosevelt and Richard Nixon, because those are the last two presidents that have really done anything about the environment from the Republican side of the fence. Too often GOP stands for good on petroleum, not grand old party. And you've got an uphill fight over there on your side of the fence, my friend, convincing your Republican friends that the environment is an issue that is important to all Hoosiers, because too many in your party deny the existence of climate change. You've got people in your party that think your former twice impeached, disgraced president Donald Trump said it was a Chinese hoax. I mean, so you've got a lot of work to do over there, Jim. I wish you good luck, my friend. Good luck. You'll need it.
Abdul, we just got a few seconds left. Are there enough Republicans like Mr. Merritt and the way Governor Holcomb has been lately on the environment, or is it still the other way around right now?
I think to use an environmental analogy, I think for the most part, environmental change will happen at sort of a glacier's pace. It'll be slow, but it'll be massive. And what you're finding is that Republicans are on their position on the environment responding to market forces. You know, people don't want to use fossil fuels. That's why the electric cars have popped up. That's why you see electric car battery plants here in Indiana. But also you got to remember too, we don't have necessarily the infrastructure grid yet to power electric vehicles just yet. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. And Jim is absolutely right. Teddy Roosevelt did big conservation, and Richard Nixon actually started the EPA.
Yeah, but look, Abdul, you're going back to TR and Nixon. I mean, what have the Republicans done since Nixon on the environment?
Well,
Zilch.
as I said, the Mitch Daniels administration did a lot regarding getting our air cleaner in Indiana, and you have to start from somewhere. Ronald Reagan had a very good record on environment, and so you just have to continue to work on these issues. And the article really was trying to recruit Republicans to think outside the box.
The environmental party, ladies and gentlemen, is the Democratic Party. But I do appreciate your efforts, Jim. But unfortunately, I think you got a tough hill to climb, my friend. When you think about the environment, the party you should be thinking about is the Indiana Democratic Party and the Democratic Party nationally, because we are the environmentalists. The evidence shows it.
Well, it said, as Ray said, we've got a plan to put EV fueling stations around the state. You have to start somewhere, and I think the trend. I think we're going to be overwhelming as Abdul said, in this area, and you just have to start somewhere. And I truly believe the Republican Party needs to lurch this way. Because we're a minority party, and it may be a red state, but we need to continue to attract independents and friendly Democrats to the fold.
Good luck to you. You'll need it.
Gentlemen, we've reached the end of the road for this Insider segment. Brian Gaddie, Jim Merritt, Abdul Hakim Shabazz. Always a pleasure, gentlemen. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.